we can see, we can deal with kids in those environments. But what do we have to deal with them with? Michelle can tell you. You know, one thing that happened, Michelle, you know, when the place was closed down, when the venues were closed down, well, they hurt our people for about 3-4 days. But you know what? The kids had to find out where the go-go was going to be when those places were closed down. And some of what we learned was not bad. Michelle and them learned that we will rent our own facility and have our own place and make our own music. They became entrepreneurs over that weekend. So thank you, Jack Johnson, for creating entrepreneurship in the community. But that's what we need. We need here, the people here, to legitimize this for the kids. Not
they want to do. So if you take that aspect out of it, number one, that'll make it less, you know, not less attractive, but it won't be like they're rebelling against something, but that they're supporting something positive. You know,
I hear you. One of the
things that was really important from this whole event, in the go-go community, the first thing that came out as we met, maybe the day after or that same night, was that we shared in you all's concern, because they're our kids as well as they're your kids. Nobody wants kids to be killed, and so for that part of it, I thought, you know, it was a good thing that we were forced to pay attention. But what was more interesting is, since the county backed off, we never did. We've had hours and days and weeks of meetings trying to organize just this, some things that we could put in place that could curb the violence. And that's rare because you all backed off, and the general, well, it appeared that you all backed off, and the general thing for people to do is to relax and continue business as usual. And so we have identified a few things. One, in the club aspect, I know that we all kind of like what the Trade Winds does. I think they have surveillance cameras, number one, that they had installed, and they have these license scanners. And what happens with the license scanner is, I mean, just coming in, it's no problem. You scan your license and you go in. But if you get into an altercation on the inside, when you come out, they take your ID and they put it in the scanner, and then they mark it as banned. And I know recently the Trade Winds has had meetings with the legends and the classics, and they're all going to have these scanners, and so that they can share information. So not only that you're banned at the Trade Winds, but you're banned. You can't now go down the street to the classics and become a problem either. So I think that's a pretty powerful thing. One of the other things that we have been working on,
because if you just do the work in the school, what they do? Don't they leave and go home? So you have to go where they come from, to the school, and be at the school for them. Okay? There's kids already, ain't wait till no 6th grade to identify with nothing. Man, they identifying in kindergarten.
didn't I just say that?
Okay?
But the way to get to those
Boss,
kids,
I'm not
inside, you can go inside the community.
It's not for you.
Go ahead.
We here to work. We here to work together. Together.
Then don't address what he's talking about.
This is a collective effort.
we're going right.
Ms. Camille,
Everyone has
we're
opportunity.
talking about the television teaching our children when our parents are not home. BET is your father. ESPN is your mother. All kind of things go on. So if you have 11-year-old kids watching a 6-year-old boy or a 4 or 2-year-old brother, and then you whip him because he done made a decision, but you putting a kid in an adult position to make adult decisions. So why won't he make an adult decision when he's 14 to commit a crime? But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about reaching the kids in the community first, and we in the community and at school, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. My phone, Mr. Abraham's phone, and Mr. Moulton's phone is available. Okay, so, and I mean, it's a large bill. Okay, and then everything we do is nothing but trial and error. We can't put nothing in order and say, oh, this is going to exactly work. But we just need to keep on doing what we're doing, and everybody need to support one another and stop worrying about who getting more of the pie. Okay, man, get some crumbs sometime. You gonna eat. You know you gonna eat, man. I mean, you gonna eat. I mean, come on, man, you know.
February. Rest had a sit-down, classics, legends, martinis, just, I can't even begin to tell you. And then the county officials, health department, police, safety, fire, they all came and we sat down. And I say that because I think you're right, we need a bigger forum, because that was just the club trying to figure out what the LCI task force was chartered to do, because they were coming to the restaurants, nightclubs at night and doing health inspections and fire inspections. And, you know, we're trying to do business and folks have dinner and you've got the health inspector poking around, and so it was very uncomfortable. And we understood that the legislation was to root out those, let's call them underground clubs, the barbershop sort of incident. So it wasn't intended, but the effect of it was that that the LCI task force did in fact go to some of these, I won't use the word legitimate, because everybody's legitimate if they have the proper licenses. But it also enabled the restaurants and nightclubs to root out the behavior that happened in Councilwoman Bland's district. And we talked to each other, and we spoke to that owner and said, you can't do this. Understand, these are teens, and this is what you're intended to do. I can honestly say, when he started to learn what his responsibilities were, he put them right into effect. And we work with each other. But I'm speaking rather quickly because I know people have to leave, but I just wanted to really focus on the fact that there's a lot of positive things I'm hearing here, but understand restaurants and nightclubs are the first business to close. They're the least and hardly financed. You can't get monies, you cannot get loans, you have to personally guarantee it for almost 9 years. And then you gotta figure out, how do I then turn those guarantees over to the business guarantees? So as you all are talking about people's liquor licenses and stuff like that, we gotta sit down, because I think you have to listen to some of these restaurant owners who, if they are not there, you will not be in business. And it's even harder to get those additional licenses just to open up an establishment. So I'm not drawing the line, I will not debate it, I'm not here to go back and forth. I'm just trying to emphasize, as this gentleman said, you've got to have all the parties at the table.
Now say something, I gotta leave. But I ain't nothing back to the community. That's number one. Number two, he's not interested in our safety. Because I went out there way before I did business with Americans. I know them, I've done business with them. They don't care about us. But we gotta hold them accountable. We out there having a press conference about doing safety and about addressing the problem. He get this big Bama lawyer in the parking lot from down south. So no, I'm gonna tell it like it is. I'm gonna tell it like it is. I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is. No.